Who is going to be the final 3 bottles of bourbon moving on to round 2? Let's find out. What's going on, everybody? Nathan here with the Everyday Jerker, bringing you guys the final matches of round 1. That's right, we have our final 6 bourbons to see who moves on to round number 2. Before we get into the bourbons, though, I do just want to let you guys know that the people have spoken, the Patreon members, and all of you guys on YouTube have spoken. We are going to exchange the Old Forester 1910 for the Old Forester 1920 due to the fact of the proof mark of the Barrel Batch 34. We are going to see if that higher proof actually contends with the Barrel Batch 34, but hey, who knows? Maybe a 90 proofer might win this battle in the long run. But without further ado, let's get into match number 1. Match number 6 is going to be a fun one here, guys. We have the 2XO by Dixon Deadmen. This is bottled at 104 proof. This is a double oaked bourbon going up against the Barrel Batch 34, the one that I am expecting to possibly win this entire thing, but hey, who knows? This is bottled at 114 proof, and it comes in at around $80, and we're gonna see which one moves on to round number 2. If you guys are enjoying this bourbon madness, make sure you drop a subscribe, and let me know down in the comments which bourbon you think is going to win this entire thing. Also, a lot of you have been saying that you wish that this was completely blind for me. I'm gonna let you know that round 2 is going to be poured by my fiance, and we are going to have absolutely no idea what is going to be in each glass moving into round 2, 3, and 4. But without further ado, let's get into the nose of the guy on the left here. It's got this warm melted chocolate, like a chocolate fountain almost. It smells like that milk, hot melted milk chocolate. There's this toastiness going on here. I'm getting a hint of like a toasted coconut almost as well. But then it has this fruity aspect on the backbone of it that's holding everything together, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like a candied apple almost. Wow, that smells really nice. It's super sweet. It's got this maple syrup, but that lingers on the back of your tongue. But then on the mid palate, I'm getting almost a brown sugar, like a crispy brown sugar almost. Almost like if you've ever had like a brown sugar cookie, instead of like the like your traditional just regular sugar cookie. This is very rich. It's got a little bit of molasses on the tail end of there. Really, really nice. I want one more sip. But on that second sip, I get a little bit of like an orange, almost like an orange creamsicle. But everything off of that first sip is still there, but it's opening up a little bit more to have this like sweet, fruity citrusness coming out of there, which is very pleasant. But let's move on to glass number 2 here. Wow, that's really nice too. I'm getting a little bit more of a vanilla out of this glass. Almost like an almond nut in there. Like one of those candied almonds. But then there's a touch of toffee. I'm not getting any like real fruit coming out of this glass. This is all like earthy tones, nuttiness, touch of vanilla. Let's get into the palate. This one's drier. It coats your palate, but then it dries it immediately. There's this marshmallow-esque coming off of this. It's making me salivate a lot. Like it's drying my mouth out, and it's making me want to go back in for another sip here. They're 2 completely different glasses. I think I'm gonna lean closer towards this one here on the left, only because it dries your mouth out, right? But you get this warm sweetness that comes through, where this one is just a little bit more of that like oakiness that doesn't have anything more on the backbone that's holding it all together. It's really, really nice. It's a very pleasant drink. It's not hot. Both of these are not as hot as they would expect to be, being one that has 104 proof, 114 proof. They're drinking very, very similarly, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the one on the left here. Let's find out what one is moving on to round number 2. Batch 34, Barrel Bourbon Batch 34 is moving on to round number 2, kicking off the Double XO by Dixon Deadmen, the Phoenix Blend. All right, so we are here with match 7 of round 1, and this is going to be an absolute fun one. I know I didn't do it in the first match of the day, but in the blue corner, we have the Penelope Architect Build number 1, coming in at 104 proof, finished in French oak staves. And in the white corner, we have the Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style bourbon whiskey at 115 proof. We have a fantastic lineup here, ladies and gentlemen. Another higher proof round to see which one moves on to round number 2. I'm going to start here on our right-hand side. These have been spinny, do, rotted brown, and we don't know which is which. But getting on the nose here. It's got a nice cherry, a warm cherry. This has red fruits all over the place. And a touch of like a raspberry like preserve. But then it has this vanilla, this warm vanilla on the back end. Oh, that smells so nice and pleasant. It's a little hot. It has this almost like an espresso on the tail end there as well. Like also, it's got a freshly tanned leather. It smells just like fresh leather. But then it has this oakiness, this oak presence as well. Really nice. Skin of the palate. Oh, that's really nice. It's warm, but it's dark. It's got this grapiness that comes through on the palate that you don't find on the nose, but it also has this leather quality, this rich espresso that comes through. It's got these cherry notes in there that are very, very pleasant. It's almost like a cherry ice cream, super creamy, super viscous, coats your entire mouth, and there's no bitterness that comes off of this. It's a very dark, rich bourbon. It's very, 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 very nice. Let's get into glass number 2 here. It says a confectioner sugar coming off of it. It has a little bit of a vanilla icing. Kind of reminds me of the Benchmark Single Barrel, but Benchmark Single Barrel is not on the table today. That one already got kicked off. It's warmer, it's sweeter, it's got a touch of cinnamon on the end there. It's got that vanilla cinnamon. There's a touch of like a drier chocolate, maybe a little bit of mocha. But then it also has a little bit of a grassy tone to it as well. Let's get into the palate. Super dry, immediately dry on the palate. Hits your tongue and it just sends it into overdrive on trying to salivate. Trying to find other notes other than just being dry, and I'm really not finding anything. It's got it's oaky. It's very oaky. But the dryness just takes over completely. And I'm going to have to just give this round to this one on the right here. Whatever this one is leaps and bounds better than this one on the left. So let's find out what is moving on to round 2 after match number 7. Round 2 is going to the Penelope Architect Build number 1. Penelope Architect Build number 1 has kicked off the Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style bourbon. All right, everybody, we are in our final match of round 1. We have 2 fantastic pours in front of me here, but in the white corner, we have the Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat Recipe bottled at 94 proof, and in the brown corner, we have the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked Bourbon bottled at 90.4 proof. 2 great pours. Which one is going to move on to round number 2? I'm going to start here on our left-hand side and see what this bad boy is all about. Right off of that initial nose, I get a little bit of a cherry pie. Almost smells like Dr. Pepper in a way as well. Right off of the bat, that was a Dr. Pepper cherry pie, like a cherry Dr. Pepper. Something was very interesting coming off of that. There's a walnut-esque as well, like a candied walnut. But then it also has this like mustiness on the back end that it's not off-putting, but I think that it puts everything together. Like, I don't know why this is coming to my head, but I'm thinking of like a wet leather almost. It's interesting. Let's give it the palate. It's salty in a way. It's briny. It's got this earthiness to it. There's a lot of lemon coming out of this. It almost has this like scotchiness that is coming out of this, which is really interesting. It does have this like maltiness that reminds me of Scotch a lot. And I don't know what it is about it that is making me think that. But I want to get into glass number 2 here on our right and see if this is any better than that one, because that's interesting. This does not drink like a bourbon. This has some chocolate notes in it. Has a touch of vanilla as well. Wow, this is very beautiful. But I want to get into the palate and see what this is all about. Oh, that is beautiful. So much better than this one here on the left. I don't know what it was about this one. It drank like a scotch. This one is super sweet. It's got some molasses coming out of there. There's brown sugar, molasses. There's this, almost has like this cinnamon clove, almost reminds me of carrot cake. Super sweet with that cream cheese icing on top. This one is so much better than this one here on the left. Much better mouthfeel, creaminess, so nice. I want to give this one more chance. See if this one just was a little weird in the beginning, but opens up at the end. Yeah, no, the winner is the one on my right here. Let's find out what is moving on to round number 2. Round number 2 is the Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat. That is very interesting how this Woodford Double Oak, I don't know why that had this Scotch-esqueness, this single maltiness to it that I did not enjoy, where this Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat was leaps and bounds better than it. I don't know. That's very interesting to me, but at the end of the day, the Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat is moving on to round number 2. So here we are with our Elite 8 moving on to round number 2. This is going to be a fun one, and here's one last look at the bracket to see which bottles are going to go head to head. And like I said earlier in the video, I am going to have absolutely no idea what is going to be poured in front of me. My fiance is going to pick random brackets and put them in a glass for me, and we're going to have absolutely no idea what is going to move on to round number 3. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was the end of round number 1. Until next time, this has been Nathan with the Everyday Drinker. Cheers.